This is The Gorge. It is a podcast where my friend Sara and I gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a topic. And Sara, what are we talking about this week?
This week we're talking about, it's Indie Week, and we're talking about, I should have had this pulled up, we're talking about DUSK for the computer, like the PC, and for some reason the Switch.
Yeah, that one's, I would not expect this to be a Switch title.
That one really caught me off guard when they announced it, because it's not on oh, jeez. That's been a minute since I've talked. Hey, it's not out on consoles like any other consoles, but they're going to bring it to the Switch, which, I mean, okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know how. I mean, you told me you played this game with a controller, and I think you're a crazy person for doing that still, especially for how fast this game is. I guess you could point with your... Does it have motion controls on the Switch? I'm such a grandma, I actually don't know.
Well, yeah, it's got, I mean, I haven't played any game that requires it to use, like, the pointer bit.
Right.
But I know it does have some form of, like, gyro sensor in it, because 1-2 Switch does a lot of, like, motions, like, stuff like that. But
okay.
I don't know if it does, like, the, like, infrared pointer like the Wii did back in the day.
Well, that'll be weird. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
You can take the most bonkers fucking FPS I've played in a while with you wherever you want, which is pretty intense and cool.
You know, we say a lot that, like, there's two things that, like, you and I both kind of say, which is either, oh, that is a video game. Like,
yes.
Boy, The Quiet Man sure is a video game. Or
it's a video game made by humans.
Or you can have a video game.
This is a video game. Capital V, capital G, sweet God in heaven. This is just pure, like, this is like black tar video game from, like, fucking Tijuana, man.
Yeah.
Okay? You snort this video game off a countertop in a bathroom somewhere. Like, holy shit.
It's like that Aquid gag I keep sending you. You don't play this game because you like it. You play it because you're holding something the police will wrestle you over.
That's it. This is a video game that if it had come out in, like, I don't know, 1998, Tipper Gore would have actually killed herself because it would just be, for her, it would be the end of civilization, you know?
You just made me realize what kind of shooter this is. This isn't like an old school shooter. This isn't like a Twitch shooter. This is a controversy shooter.
This is a controversy shooter, 100%.
Like Postal or like Duke Nukem 3D.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you're right. This is the game that would be in headlines if it came out in the 90s.
This is a game that's teaching your children how to murder. It's a murder simulator, which it is a murder simulator, because you do a lot of murder in this game. Boy. It's a lot.
I don't know what the criteria are, but I got an achievement called Pacifist.
Yeah.
And I don't
know what that is.
I'm like, what?
Are you sure? What? Is it because you didn't... I wonder if it's because you didn't kill, like, every single enemy in the game.
That's gotta be it.
It has to be it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you did not slaughter every single thing that moves, you know, because they tell you the enemy counter at the end of every level.
Right.
And, like, that has to be it. Because otherwise, there's no pacifist running through DUSK, baby.
There's no talking the enemy down in this game.
Boy, there's barely any talking at all. This game literally just throws you right into it, and I respect the hell out of it. DUSK may legitimately be one of my favorite games we may have ever played for this podcast.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I swear to God. I'm on cloud 9 with this game, man. Like, this is my Oprah Din.
Wow, okay. I mean, I don't blame you. It's a very, very good game.
It scratches the exact same pleasure center of my brain that Devil May Cry scratches. Like everything about it, especially because it is a game about killing like hell shit set to heavy metal, and that's kind of really all it's about. I'm just like, Devil May Cry, and I'm just like hearing like Devil Trigger in the back of my head the whole time. You know? It's crazy. It's amazing.
And boy, there's a lot of hell in this game, isn't there?
The game is aggressively hell, and I love the last couple levels of Dusk are some of the most bonkers shit I've ever seen. This will be a podcast where I go, but the level design, though, for 2 hours or however long we're going to talk. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people were saying, like, Dusk has some of the best level design in a video game ever. And I was like, how good can it be? And then I played Dusk, and I was like,
oh, that good.
It's that good. It's that good. There were so many moments where I just, like, stopped, and I was like, whoa. Like...
There's parts in this game where, because hey, let's be real right away. You get your hands on the keyboard or the controller, and you move forward a bit, and then you fly 3,000 miles a second, and you're like, oh, it's this kind of game. All right,
it's that kind of game. Yeah. The other problem with Dusk is that Dusk will ruin me. It will destroy my perception of first-person shooters, kind of the way that DMC5 has destroyed my perception of third-person action games. I can never play another first-person shooter unless I am moving approximately half the speed of light.
Folks, if you have like motion sickness problems, take some Dramamine before you play Dusk.
Have I got a video game that is not for you? Wow, yeah, because like it's intense. You sneeze and you're on the other side of the state, you know?
Yeah, like, and then you're going through these levels, and like the level design is so brilliant because you don't even realize until you're like, oh, I'm back here.
Yeah.
What?
You're looping around. You're doing all sorts of just crazy. God, so many of this, like, they're not really set pieces because Dusk is not like a set piece game, but literally like the sets, like a movie set, they are so beautiful, just like genuinely just beautiful. Like the underground, like cathedral looking place, the place where you fight Big John, where this, like, the fucking... Which, by the way, bizarre Schwarzenegger reference in a game that came out in 2018, but whatever. I get the time period. I do.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're hearkening back to the era where that joke would have fucking killed.
That joke would have landed, and I was just like, this is weird, but I love it. But that arena where you fight Big John, Big John is not a good boss fight for that arena. Because the arena itself is so intense, and I almost wonder if that's like the joke, like, because like you get in there and it's a big open area, and you're like, yeah, and the sky opens up, and there's like skyscrapers and stuff around you, and the sky is bright, you know, it's glowing, and this is just like beautiful, and then you just get this one little piddly guy who I got through him in like a couple seconds. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe it's supposed to be a letdown. Felt like it was supposed to be a letdown, but
it felt kind of like in this kind of game, that's like the only joke character. It felt like that, yeah.
But I mean, that's also part of the time too. Is it's like, here's this grimdark, gory, you know, like first person, like, you know, speed shooter on crack, and it has like a Schwarzenegger reference, and you know that is the time period. But boy, yeah, no, I'm real enthusiastic about Dusk. Like, it's something else. The only complaint, we'll get into complaints in a minute. 'Cause like I said, it scratches that little spot on my brain, and God, the music is so. I'm just like,
I think one of the best things I can say about this game, like one of my top compliments, is how uncomfortable this game made me. When playing it for like extended periods of time. Yeah. With like some combination of, like, for one thing, the enemy design, the locations you're going to, the sound.
Some of the enemy designs are so discomforting. It's great.
The sound design,
Yeah.
So I love when you are getting, like, if you're in an area, like, I think it's in, like, the second chapter where you are kind of in more of a facility type area and you're kind of climbing on rafters and stuff. And you get those, like, the sound of, like, metal cables bending, that, like, that metallic, like, twanging sound, and it's like, oh
my god. The facility area has one of the best, again, because, like, level design. That big arena that, like, the ground is cracking open, there's lava flowing under it, and, it has, like, these power pylon things that have big sparks coming off of them, and it's just a massive combat arena. It's not really, like, a level. It's just, like, a open room the size of a football field, and there's, like, 70 dudes in there, and you, and, God, so good, so cool and satisfying, like, just to clear areas out.
Like, this game, I don't know if this is specific to me or not, but, like, this game's, like, atmosphere is so intense.
Oh, yeah.
That I felt like the air itself was hard to breathe in this, like, world. You know what I mean?
It feels very, like, electric. Like, it's just humming with tension, and you really are just a coiled spring ready to snap, because you're moving so fast and you're armed to the teeth, and there's this music playing, and these enemies are just launching themselves at you. And so even when you're not fighting, all you're doing is waiting for the next fight. So there's, like, this weird kind of tension. You're just bracing yourself for what comes next every single time, and it's really good.
It's really good.
It's really insanely good. God, I am just awestruck at the level design. I keep going back to it.
Like, I've had moments, like, playing this where I'm like, wait, how did I get here?
That's the coolest part.
I went upstairs. How did I wait? Hold on. I'm here, but this is the same floor that I was. What? And, like, you don't even notice that, like, you are rising and fall, like, you know, going, like, inclining and declining, like, these areas, and you're like, wait, what? I don't remember.
Bonkers non-Euclidean geometry shit going on. It's the coolest.
That level in the game was like, I was reaching a part where I'm like, okay, I get what Dusk is about. I kind of get this game now.
Oh yeah, the level where you're, like, it's in the facilities.
Yeah.
And it's literally like an Escher painting where there's, like, floor tiles on the wall. Oh, it's so
I think it's called, like, the Escher facility too. And
is it called? Oh god. The game is like a blur to me. I don't know what anything's names are, so I'm just gonna have to describe them to you.
Right? But like, it does that thing where, like, you go through a door and you're like, wait, what the fuck happened?
Oh, man.
Wait, and I'm like, oh,
there's
Dusk has some more to show me.
There's the twisty hallway.
Yeah!
Twisty hallway was so good. Oh, man. Yeah, that's when you know you're in some shit. And then from there, it just keeps going, like... Actually, no. The moment I knew I was in for some shit was really early on in one of the outskirts levels where I think it's when you go into the church. You know, there's that church on the hill, and it's very kind of, like, bizarrely serene. And you go underneath the church into, like, a whole network of caves, and then you climb up a ladder because there's a big, tall brick column. You climb up the ladder, and at the top of the ladder is water. So you have to jump down into this well, you swim down, and then you take a turn and you start swimming up again. And you have no sense of direction or, like, where you are. It plays like the way you would perceive video games when you were 12.
Yeah!
Where, like, because your dumb idiot baby brain, and I don't think this happens to kids anymore, because kids have a better grasp of video games than we did, but, like, because video games were kind of a new thing, and 3D spaces in video games were, like, a new thing, your idiot baby brain didn't really make the connections. It all felt like floating rooms just kind of connected by hallways. I can't explain that feeling adequately.
You couldn't, like, you know, like Pat talks about all the time, where, like, you couldn't comprehend the real world space of it, you know?
Yeah. I could never make a map of, like, stuff in Doom or, like Duke Nukem. I used to play Duke Nukem with my brother a lot. And I could never, like, wrap my brain around that space. It all just kind of felt really disconnected to me. And Dusk is, like, a game that did that, but, like, intentionally.
Yeah.
It was like, let's just make a whole game where you're really... it's what contributes to, like, how uncomfortable the game can make you, even though it's not, like, a horror... It's a horror action shooter.
Right. I mean, like, it's scary, but, like, it's not...
It's not Silent Hill.
Right, no, it's not designed to make you feel afraid and everything. It's just got scary monsters in it.
Yeah. It has some really scary monsters in it.
That fucking, the mouth guys.
Orange dude, yeah, the orange dudes, they scare me.
Didn't like seeing those guys pop up out of nowhere.
Don't like them. Don't like the invisible deer monsters. Don't like them.
I don't like that sound they make when they're revealed.
They make a bad sound. They make a bad, creepy, scary sound. Those guys that are like beholders, but with mouths instead of big eyes.
And they just shoot skulls at you?
Yeah, that was kind of creepy. Yeah, it's really cool. This game's really cool.
This game's really, really cool.
What if you played a metal album cover?
That's basically it. Or like...
That's it.
Like, it starts off as like a metal country album.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go into, like, true metal, like, goth rock, like...
Mm-hmm. And then you go to hell, and on your way to hell, you go to, like, oh, man, the like, cathedral area that's, like, in the sky. I didn't think they even call it, like, the Sky Facility or something like that. It's that yeah, it's so cool.
So cool.
So cool. Oh man, that's the first time you get the Super Hot gameplay too, and it's like, oh, we should play Super Hot,
right?
We're probably gonna play Super Hot. This game has lit a fire in me.
Yeah, you literally get the Super Hot mechanic.
Yeah, there's literally that's it. It's just like, here, you play Super Hot for a minute now. I'm
right?
Like, okay, that's cool. You don't have to tell me twice. Yeah, God. It's so cool.
Everything about this game is designed to feel sharp and painful. Mm-hmm. Like even when you get like the little wall hooks so you can scale up walls, but they make that constant like grinding noise the entire time you have them.
Yes.
It's like, oh.
It's just like nails on a chalkboard. Yeah, it's all very uncomfortable. It's all meant to sound really punchy. Which is kind of like why I think some of the sound effects just fall really short. That's like my biggest complaint is that there's just... Okay, so I have two big complaints. I'm just gonna get them out of the way right now. Some of the sound effects that weapons make, it's like the shotgun sounds really good, but then some of the explosions and stuff, I'm just like, you could have done a little bit more. And then the weapons aren't crazy enough.
Yeah, you don't... I mean, like, everything's pretty stock standard. You get pistols, you get shotgun, you get assault rifle, you get hunting rifle. You
get two explodey things, neither of which are, like, terribly groundbreaking. And you get the crossbow, which is cool, but it's like, you can shoot through walls. That's cool, but I don't know what's on the other side of the wall, and I need to hang on to this ammo. So I'm gonna wait until I can see it.
It's like, you know, the whole gimmick is that, like, you know, it's shoot through enemy. Like, you shoot through an enemy and it'll hit the other enemy behind him. But it's like...
Right.
This is not a game where you are trying to set up strategic shots, you know?
Yeah, it's really more like you're just kind of hoping that serendipity happens.
Right, like the enemy placement is not... This isn't a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne where enemy placement is kind of like set in stone.
Right.
Their approach is more, hey, there's a room in this tile set, and we're gonna fill it with guys.
Yeah, it's not quite so scientific as a Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's not, you know, or more contemporary, a Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not...
I had one moment where, like, the shotgun scarecrow guy, there were supposed to be 3 of them in a room. And because I saw them. I was like 1, 2, 3. I killed 2. And then I went into the room to deal with it because, you kind of kite them out to a hallway so you can just pick them off. And then I went into the room to find the 3rd one. I'm like, where the fuck did he go? Because I know there's no other way out of here. And there was one of those little teleporter things. They can interact with those.
Yeah.
I hit the teleport, and the dude was in there fighting those, like I think it was those possessed scientist guy things.
Mm-hmm.
And it attacked one of those, and I was like, that's kind of neat.
Well,
but, yeah.
There are some rooms, especially late game, where you kind of have to rely on the fact that enemies don't have friendly fire.
Yeah,
you can, like, when those skull beholder things pop up,
yep,
you kind of have to kite those around to kill everything else for you.
Oh, but that's really cool though, because you're having these moments where like enemies are picking things off for you, and it's all part of that. Not necessarily, I guess it is strategy. But it's strategy. It's all in service of making you feel like the Evil Dead, like a huge badass. That's a big thing. Huge influence is very obviously the Evil Dead. So why the fuck didn't we get a chainsaw?
Right? Yeah. We
got the chainsaw.
We get the sword, but
the sword is not my favorite.
Cool.
It's not really cool. It's just like a sword.
We needed like a BFG or like a spell book or something, you know?
Did you ever play Painkiller?
Is that the one?
Your wife dies, because all wives have to die in video games, and you have to like earn your way into heaven.
Okay, yeah.
Has some really fucking bonkers like weapons in them, and the really famous one is Kazyatsi.
Yes!
Like very emphatically, sure, it's the gun that shoots shurikens and lightning.
Yes, that okay, now I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Painkiller is like the kind of one of those, like, it's the same kind of game as this, which is just like high octane, kill lots of monsters, kind of, demonic setting.
Right.
But Painkiller has a bunch of bonkers fucking weapons, and that's what I wanted from Dusk.
Right? Like, I wanted, like, okay, so you get the mortar and you get the riveter, right? And, like, those are kind of your, like, heavy weapon, like, your heavy weapons. But it's like...
They're your boss fight weapons.
You don't... You get them enough that they're just another weapon in your inventory. And, like, I want the one where I have 5 shots per level.
Yeah.
And there's
you
no
have to
other
really
ammo.
Hang on to them.
Yeah. I want... Where's my screen clearer?
Yeah, where's my screen clearer, or, like, something, like, really different. I mean, like, even fucking Half-Life had the gravity gun, you know what I mean? Like, there's really no weapon in... That is, like, my biggest complaint with Dusk, is there is no weapon in Dusk that feels like it belongs to Dusk, It doesn't really... Like, the meat hook melee weapon is cool, but you will never use it, because unless you're just out of ammo, because, like, it's not really that kind of a game. So, you have to... You end up just using, like, really standard, double pistols, double shotgun, super shotgun, assault rifle, etc. So you end up using just a bunch of weapons that don't really feel very unique. It's just, your standard first-person shooter kit.
And, like, even if, like, mechanically they were that set, like, give us the thing that's, like, well, this, you have, like, a fucking... auto crossbow as your pistol,
Yeah.
Or like something really, like your shotgun is like a magic scepter or something that shoots like a lightning blast, and that mechanically functions as a shotgun, but it's unique to that game,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because there's really nothing that truly defines Dusk. And maybe there'll be a sequel. There's probably going to be a sequel because this game is sold very well. Or they'll do, like, some kind of spiritual successor.
Plus, maybe. I mean, the way it ended, it kind of sets up, like, there can be more to this game.
Oh, I'm really hoping. I love that ending.
Mm-hmm.
But before we talk about that, there's just, that's, like, those are my 2 complaints, really. Like, I feel like some of the sound effects are kind of piddly, and I wish it had its own unique gun. And that's it, because I really liked every other aspect of Dusk like a lot.
I've got two major complaints as well, actually.
Okay.
Two big ones. This is kind of a problem that I have that's not really a problem because it's more just a matter of taste. It's not like a mechanically, like, this thing is pretty much an objective flaw thing.
Right.
I felt this game overstayed its welcome. You
think it had too many levels?
I think it was too long.
It is really long.
It's surprisingly long. I did not expect it to be as long as it ended up being.
But I can't fault that. That's part of this. I get what you're saying, of course. Keep going.
But I mean, like, and for one thing, that's on my expectations of the kind of indie games we play. They usually take 5 to 10 hours, to beat one of the games we play here. So I kind of went in assuming it would be that long. But no, this was meant to be treated as a much more fully fledged experience. You are playing this for about 15 to 20 hours.
It's a real ass video game.
It's a long game, and we're trying to beat it, and I'm like, okay, can I just can we get to the ending, please? I'm on kind of a deadline here.
Yeah, there's deadlines to meet here.
But that's more on my expectations. The other problem I have is, as much as these enemies are really, really cool, those weird robot ladies are the worst things I've ever seen in my life. I have never hated an enemy more than I hate those enemies. They're the worst.
Are really unsettling, right?
Not just are they creepy, they are bullet sponges that can kill you in 3 hits.
Yeah, that's fair too. Yeah.
When
they kind of suck in that. The balancing is weird.
I am pumping almost my entire assault rifle clip into them. Yeah. And they are not dying. And what can I use? The super shotgun? You want me to get close to them? Excuse me? No.
Yeah, I think they're an explodey weapons, your mortar. They're a mortar enemy, but even then it takes 6 rounds from a mortar. It
takes so much to put them down, and they can fire their own mortars that explode through walls and have crazy amounts of splash damage.
Yeah.
And then you get that part in the end where it's just the fucking gauntlet level.
Oh my god.
And when it's there's just a field of them, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really?
Do you want... that was probably one of the craziest parts of this game. Because, no lie, I think that the whole mission is, 1, it's just that fight, and 2, it is 25 minutes long.
It's huge.
It is. And I kind of love it, and I think it's because Devil May Cry has driven me insane, right? I genuinely think DMC has made me into a crazy person.
I can't believe they made the Bloody Palace a mandatory level.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's 100%. Just keep surviving floors, and it's just a big circle, and you've got... God, though. I mean, I wish the Bloody Palace would just keep giving you resources,
And also don't forget to save between rounds, or else you are fucked.
You are super fucked. Oh, it's so good. Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah. When I finally figure out oh, I see what they're doing. They're going through every single enemy in the game, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to fight a whole bunch of those lady robots, aren't I?
You have to fight them lady robots.
Oh man, don't do this to me.
No, I don't like it. I don't like it, Dusk, but I do. I love it. I love it. It's so hard. It's so hard.
So crazy. And that's that's the other thing is that's again not a complaint, but it's more I'm a dumbass and I've gotten soft. Where it's oh yeah, there ain't no checkpoints unless you make those checkpoints.
If you die at the end of the level, buddy, you're dead.
You gotta remember to save between encounters, or you're gonna have to do it all over again.
Oh man, yeah, it's good. It's really good.
You ever get that where you forget to save because you're doing so well, you're flying through the battle, and then a grenade goes off, and you're like,
oh no.
Oh
no. Yeah, I've had that. That's a pain I've had to live through.
Yeah.
But boy, yeah, The thing is that I kind of love, like, if we weren't on such a deadline and we still took way too long for us to do this review, because I got distracted by Devil May Cry, because, like I said, Devil May Cry has turned me into a crazy person. You know, I got a little distracted, so I didn't quite play Dusk as much as I should have, but the whole it being really long thing is kind of a, like, Hollow Knight does that. I think it's a really cool thing, where it's like, this is a $20 video game, made by, like, a handful of people, but it has as much content as its $60, like contemporary. Yeah, contemporaries. And, like, Hollow Knight is just kind of a 2D Dark Souls, basically.
Right.
And it's your lo-fi version of Doom 2016.
Well,
and
yeah,
I love it, because the thing is that there's been a lot of, you know, everybody talks a lot about the death of the single player industry and blah blah blah, which, no, it's not going anywhere, but for sure there's a pressure to turn games into a service, and, you know, to just keep milking consumers for everything they're worth. And it's like, honestly, if the AAA industry died tomorrow, I wouldn't miss it. I got my Devil May Cry 5. I don't care.
Right?
I wouldn't miss it. I got pretty much everything I've ever wanted out of the industry at this point, like the AAA industry. Because, like, indie games are on fire. Some of the best games we played last year. My game of the year last year was an indie game. One of your top games of last year was an indie game. Indie games are on fire. You don't need to play AAA games anymore.
And, like, once the industry realizes this fact, yeah, I'm assuming we're going to see some changes.
I mean, you don't have to... Games don't actually need to cost $200 million to make, you know?
Yeah,
like,
once the industry starts to realize that... Because, like... This is kind of like, Dusk is a really good example of that, because you can compare Dusk to a lot of other releases that came out relatively recently, like Doom or Wolfenstein or, you know, those kinds of games, where it's like, yeah, this indie title is doing the same thing that those games did, just on a little bit of a lower graphical quality, a little bit.
This Dusk does the same genre of, like, high-octane fast shooter better than Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, unironically.
Like, for sure.
This game is better than a $60 AAA title, like the sequel to one of the better first-person shooters I've ever played. This game is better than The New Colossus, like, hands down. And I paid $20 for it. I paid $60. Part of my, like, massive disappointment, like, as the time has gone on, I realized how disappointed I was in the New Colossus. Is that the game is insanely short. It's like 6 hours, something like that. Maybe like 9 if you stretch it.
And it's $60.
It was a $60 title. This game is a 20-hour first-person shooter for $20. Like, you can't beat that. I'm sorry. Like, it's... You don't need to play AAA video games anymore.
We're at the point where you can get the thrill of the high-octane FPS from this game. Or, like you said, you can get the Dark Souls Metroidvania thrill out of Hollow Knight.
Or Ashen, or Salt and Sanctuary. And Ashen is really good. It's flawed, but it's really good. I haven't played it, but I've listened to plenty of other people talk about it, and the general consensus is, hey, an Ashen 2 would probably be amazing. There's Salt and Sanctuary, which is a straight-up 2D ripoff of Bloodborne.
So indie titles aren't just weird artistic things like Oberdin or Her Story, you know?
Yeah.
You can make a thing that you could easily see a full professional studio put out, made by, like, 5 guys.
Made by 5 people, and just as a passion project, something out of love, and that is the beauty of it too, is that these things are made with a lot more love and craft and passion than 80% of all AAA titles.
It's why Sonic Mania is one of the best Sonic games to come out in, like, a decade.
Yeah,
because it was made by people who were like, I know what makes this genre good.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
This isn't, I know what, like, the studios will be like, I know what the fans like about this genre. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, indie titles like this is, I personally have experience, and because of my passion for this game series, I know what makes this thing good and why people like it more than just, it's got good level design or it's got good weapons. Like, I know how the game feels.
Yeah, I people who are really passionate about it and can just sit down and be like, I'm gonna make this game the way I want to make this game. They can just do things that would be considered completely insane. There's no checkpointing. There's no, you're moving 700,000 miles an hour. Stuff that has just died in the industry is just chugging along happily in, it goes back to what I was saying with Resident Evil 2, which is a AAA title, but stay with me here. It's like, why did these aspects in video games from, like, the 80s and 90s and, like, the early 2000s, we're talking, like, 2001, why did those aspects die when they are still really good? Like, the puzzling in Resident Evil 2 is satisfying to figure out. The move speed in DUSK, the genuinely hard puzzling that's going on in, like, Obra Dinn, things like that. That is, like, stuff that was stripped away in order to make video games more accessible, and not like in a disability thing, which is a whole other conversation we're not even getting into, but it's to make it appeal to the most, like, the biggest number of people. It goes back to, I quote this a lot, and you'd be like, "What, Sarah? What does this reach?" Felix Biederman made a series about the MMA called Fighting the Age of Loneliness, and he ends it with this speech that I basically have memorized at this point, that is, like, says, everything you love will be monetized into meaninglessness. And if you think it's just fighting, no, it's everything. Nothing can escape the inevitable. Like, everything you love will be monetized into meaninglessness forever. He says, you're fucked too, is what he's saying, because it's what happened to the MMA. And we saw that with video games, and then, like, lately, though, in the last, like, 5 years, there's been such a refreshing pushback from indie devs and from a handful of AAA devs who are just like, no, we're gonna make this video game exactly the way we want to make this video game.
What we're seeing a lot in, like, the revival with indies and some of these studios is that everyone, like, in the 360 PS3 era, when DLC kind of became, like, the first thing and then kind of became, like, the norm and then kind of expanded into the bread and butter of the industry, of games as a service. Once EA got caught with Star Wars, like, it's great because, like, on the timeline in the history books, there's gonna be a chapter on when EA dropped the ball this hard and ruined it for everyone else.
Yeah, EA ruined the money pit,
And then, like, so now everyone who buys video games is looking at that and going, huh,
kind of bullshit.
That is bullshit, actually. We should not allow that to happen.
Overwatch has seen a 40% player base drop off.
And there's no recovery from that.
No. Fortnite is the biggest game in the world, and it's all microtransactions, but it's not loot boxes, at least I don't think so. I think you just buy the shit you want in Fortnite, right?
Pat explained, like, for one, also, the other thing is Fortnite is free.
Fortnite is free.
And, like, it's mostly just cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
There's a whole, like, the way Fortnite works, like, with its loot boxes and stuff, it's like, for one thing, it's, like, pretty cheap. And, you are, like, the way they have it set for, like, guarantees and stuff is, like, actually, like, pretty smart. And it's got, a random draw system to it, but it's not, like, you're not being nickel and dimed like you are with...
But you can also just straight up buy shit in Fortnite. Like, you don't actually have to loot box it, right? You can buy... You don't have to do the gacha.
Right, some of the stuff, yeah, I think either some of it or all of it you can just kind of just buy straight out. So, like, they're really smart about it, and again, it's free.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all, and I mean, like, you can still just play Fortnite without ever having to do, like, people love to shit on Fortnite. I have no problem with Fortnite. My god, it's just another fad video game, just like fucking Pokemon. You know, Pokemon was a fad video game in the 90s. I know it's still popular, but if you weren't there for it during the height, you don't know what I'm talking about. And so, like, whatever, I have no problem with Fortnite. But what I'm saying is that, in general, we're seeing a bigger drop away from that in getting into, like, people going, well, no, I'm going to make the video game I want to make, and it will find its audience. DMC5 just sold 2 million copies. Resident Evil 2 just sold, like, 3 million copies or something like that. Nier Automata was a huge success, and nobody expected it. And then you have these indie titles. You've got Dusk, you've got Obra Dinn. Astroneer is a game I really want to play at some point. It's not very story heavy, but it is really interesting. You're seeing this huge explosion of people just deciding they're going to make games the way they want to make them and hoping for the best. And it's turning out really well. And it's like, who cares about, like, AAA industry thinking?
Yeah, that's, like, what we're seeing is a decline of the reason the DMC reboot happened in the first place is because Capcom wasn't happy with the sales of DMC4 because it didn't compete with Call of Duty numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
And what we're seeing with DMC5 is that, like, oh, that was a dumb thing to think of. We're gonna find our audience, and it's a pretty sizable audience.
Turns out, you just need to make a good video game, and it'll sell.
That's what Dusk epitomizes. Like, at its core, is just like, hey, I really liked when I played Doom and Wolfenstein on my mom's computer in the laundry room or in the basement.
Yeah.
You know, I was only allowed to use it for a few hours because they didn't want viruses on it, but they bought me this game, and it was like the only game we ever had on it. I want to recapture that experience.
And feel that way again.
And then Dusk was born, and guess what? Because it's trying to capture that feeling, and because the people who make it obviously have played a lot of those games and knows what the good bits are, and also why they're good.
Yeah.
The most important thing with all of these really good indie titles, like Hollow Knight, with Dusk and all that, is that they don't just know, like, which of the parts are good. Like, oh, the gun feels really good to shoot. They know why. Like, like, in the most minute detail, why.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you get this game that's 20 hours long, and it's insane, and, like, you need to take a break every so often because your head will explode.
Yeah, you can get major sensory overload playing Dusk, and I kind of love it. I haven't felt like that in a while. Well, that's not true. I got it a little bit with DMC, but even up until recently, like, even DMC had some cutscenes here and there to kind of slow down, or like a bit where Nero had to walk down a hallway to take a fucking breath. Yeah. There's nothing like that in Dusk. There is like a 2-second sequence before you fight the final boss, like the 2 final bosses, where it's like, go pick up some gems, and it lasts like 30 seconds.
And it's mostly just an excuse for you to go get some more ammo if you need it.
That's it. And it's like the shortest breathing room, and I don't think the game ever lets up. There's, like, you can just guarantee that there's, like, either, if nothing is going on, if you're not shooting something, then it's because you're anticipating something. You're in, like, one of the scary sequences where your flashlight doesn't work, and you're anticipating something happening, which is not the same thing as, like, a downtime period. Like, it's 2 different energies. Or you're shooting things. That's it. And I think I can count on one hand how many moments in Dusk are just, like, chill.
There's, like, for, like, very briefly, there's that bit where, like, I guess you're going back to, like, your old home in, like, the void place.
Yes.
And, like, you're touching the little runes to make gravity flip and stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like like once you're like 10 seconds into that, the fucking beholders show up.
Yeah, right.
You know, and like the only times I went a long time without killing anything is because I got lost.
Yeah, okay, but that's something different too, because you're still anticipating something showing up.
Right.
And that's also just because I'm dumb and I get lost easily.
Right.
And this game is very old-fashioned and does not hold your hand.
Nope.
If you want an indicator for where you need to go next, you're a little bitch.
Mm-hmm.
That's Dusk.
Like, oh, you want like a mini-map or something? Yeah, that would actually be pretty nice. Too bad.
Fuck you. There's no mini-maps in Dusk. Was there a mini-map in Quake? No.
You figure it out if you're so goddamn smart.
But I'm not that smart, Dusk. I'm actually really dumb. You don't understand.
What do you think this...
I'm very stupid.
What do you think this is? BioShock Infinite? Get out of here!
Womp womp. Actually, BioShock Infinite was a game I was thinking about a lot while playing this, because Infinite was the last video game... was one of the last video games I played where I did get that sensory overload feeling. But it was like a bad sensory overload feeling instead of a good sensory overload feeling.
Right.
Dusk is like, there's so much going on. It's so high octane. It's like laser focused. You're moving like crazy, absurdly fast. There's enemies all over the screen. You're just kind of constantly emptying bullets into something. And it's all like very simple presentation, but the music is really good, and you're just moving all the time, and it is overwhelming, like for sure. Like I get it when people are like, yeah, it's intense.
Like there were literally moments in this game where like when the combat music finally stopped, I had to exhale.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get what you mean. Where it's like you pause the game and you just kind of like sit there for a minute, and you're like, okay. We did it.
Yeah, you gotta readjust.
Yeah. But like, BioShock Infinite was a sensory overload because it was so cluttered. It was just all garbage on your screen all the time. It was pretty garbage. I mean, I still think it has great art direction, but it's all just clutter. It doesn't really contribute anything. You have all these arenas, but those arenas aren't really well utilized. And Dusk has massive arenas that you will use every single inch of.
It's really interesting now that we're talking about that, and like I just like had this dawning realization that like Infinite and Dusk are kind of structured the same way. Yeah. You are going from room to room, and this room's gonna have a bunch of enemies in it. And your job is to kill all of them, because if you don't, they're just going to keep following you, or you can't progress unless you kill them all.
Right.
But Dusk does it so much better, and not because it's smart with enemy placement, because we discussed it earlier. It's not. It's literally just a bunch of enemies in one room. But, like, the way that the game controls, and the way that you do have access to all of your weapons at once. Like,
Do you hear that, Ken Levine, you piece of shit?
It feels better to be completely overwhelmed in Dusk than it does in Infinite, because like I guess the way to put it is that Infinite should know better.
Yeah, absolutely, because it did it better in BioShock 1.
Like Infinite does this because it's poorly designed. Dusk does this because that's what it intended to be,
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
And when it's the exact opposite of like if you try to make a bad movie, you're going to just make a boring movie. But if you accidentally make a bad movie, you'll get like hours of entertainment and like a cult following out of it.
Right, yeah. Of course. That's why Tommy Wiseau's next movie is going to be trash, no matter what it is. I know he's talking about making something, but it's going to suck. I hate to tell you this, people. You're all getting excited because Tommy Wiseau is making another movie.
But
I hate to tell you. Anyways.
So it's like that's what Dusk is like the opposite of, because they tried to make it bad and difficult and like frustrating, and it's good because of that.
Right, yeah. They intentionally made an old style video game.
I can't even count the number of times I had to like drop my controller and just like throw my arms up. Like, are you serious? For real?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
now, really? Are you?
Give me a fucking break.
All right,
please.
I guess I'm doing it again.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that you get mad and you throw the controller away like that one Potsy Epic joke. And it's like, this game sucks, I'm never playing it again. And then instantly you pick the controller back up. Right? Yes, I am.
I ain't playing this shit game ever again.
That's all it is. Yeah, it rules.
Oh, man, it's so...
It rules. Like...
I keep thinking about that fucking gauntlet, the literally the bloody palace level.
It is just a bloody palace.
And
it's a big circle just like the bloody palace, and they just keep throwing waves at you.
And you clear a wave, and then you hit like one of the little fan bouncy things, and like you look down at the battlefield, and there's just bodies everywhere, and you're like, oh boy.
That's the best part. God, the best part that the enemy bodies never despawn from the levels, so you can know where you've been. Right. Is like the best way to keep you from getting lost.
Oh, that's
like,
so helpful. It's like,
I've been here before.
I've obviously been here.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Something isn't shooting at me, and there's a bunch of corpses here. I've been here.
Cool, I've sorted this part out. But yeah, hey, you told me because you beat the game before me.
Right.
You told me when you finished the game you had things you wanted to say about the final bosses. Do you remember what that is?
Yeah, I was like that. I kind of brought it up earlier, where it's just like, boy, they want you to suffer with this because it goes past the point of being hard and just gets it veers headlong into unfair.
Right.
Like I've played hard games. I've never played a game that's like, this is unfair.
Now are you talking about the final boss, or are you talking about Jacob?
Jacob,
yeah.
Jacob is like, I don't even like.
Do you know what it is?
What is it?
Do you know what? Because I think Jacob rules. Like, yeah, it was super hard and it sucked, but Jacob is a rival character. Jacob is Virgil because he can do. I'll bring it back to Devil May Cry every single time from now until the end of the world because I've played these games. Jacob is Virgil because he has all the same movement options as you.
You're absolutely right. Jacob is just Virgil. And
he is your rival character. In
a game like this, it turns out fighting yourself actually sucks.
It sucks so much.
Because the one thing you have over every other enemy in the game is that you are fast.
Yes, exactly.
And
everything else moves real slow.
And Jacob takes that from you, and it's like, what? No.
Yes.
Also, I think the Jacob arena is way too big for that battle.
Oh, do you? I thought it was perfect.
Because, like, I'm trying to hit him, and maybe if I was using a mouse and keyboard it'd be easier, but I'm trying to hit him with my assault rifle or something, and I'm like, he's all the way over there. I can't mortar him, I can't rivet him.
Yeah.
I can't get in close with the shotguns. I'm trying to pinpoint aim at him, and it's very difficult.
Yeah, I think not to sound like you know, like a PC jerk, but mouse and keyboard really did help a lot.
I think if I replayed this game again and I used the mouse and keyboard, I'd have a much easier time of it.
Yeah, this game feels like it was made for that, which again, I don't know how Switch is going to do.
Also, at least 3 times in the Jacob fight, I died when his cultists showed up to kill him. Because I got in the crossfire of them shooting their magic at him, and I'm like, what is killing me? What is? I'm like,
oh, that's hilarious.
Like he's like the color's like spawning in, and I'm like, aha, I got you now, and it's like, wait, what is hitting me now? And I didn't think to turn around and get out of the way of the guy that's just kind of like hovering towards him.
That's actually really funny because it just means that Dusk Dude, which is what people call him, instead of Doom Guy, he's Dusk Dude. Dusk Dude is just like so into like beating Jacob's skull in that he doesn't even think about like something might be spawning in behind him. Dusk Dude is a very determined motherfucker.
I do think though that the fight with the
Nyarla Thortep?
The Persona 3 guy.
The guy from Persona 3, yeah. Or Persona 2.
Yeah, Persona 2. I think that fight was like really cool though.
That part's really good.
That was
really fun.
Like that was a very well-designed boss in a game that, like, the bosses in this game are mostly just bullet sponges.
They're mostly just bullet sponges and, like, bigger versions of other things you fight. But I really liked Mama. But that was because I know she's one of those creepy ladies, and I know you don't like those. But I really liked her arena a lot. I'm really big into that arena.
That void, really cool. Like the void area, that was really cool.
Yeah, the void area is really cool. But yeah, most of the bosses are just kind of like, they're fine. I don't think they're bad. They're just boss fights. They're first-person shooter boss fights. You know?
Right. They're like, just, guy's got a big health bar and he's very tall.
Yeah, that's it. And really, you don't want, like, unlike other video games, you don't want your at least I personally don't like it when a first-person shooter boss fight is, like, overly complicated. Because it's not why I'm here.
Right,
you know?
You're here to shoot things. You're not here to, like, get the boss into a
fucking puzzle.
Yeah, you're not here to get the boss into a stun state so his eyeball opens up and you can shoot it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here to shoot at you. And if I'm not causing damage to you with, like, my primary means of interacting with your video game, then I'm just getting mad, you know? Like, just let me shoot at the boss. And that's why I'm fine with most of the bosses in Dusk. I am glad that the two times the Duke brothers and the twins, I am glad they have a shared health bar. I would have been really mad if they didn't.
The trio at the end of the Bloody Palace were the worst.
Yep.
And if they had unique health bars, I would have killed myself.
I probably just would have stopped playing the video game.
Because
it's a good decision.
Those two, like, the horses...
Yep.
That are just like, oh, hey, do you like shmups? No? Well, you're playing one now. Oh.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. That part was rough.
How do you feel about the Toho franchise? I mean...
I've never really played one. I had a really hard time in Nier Automata because I'm really bad at them. Oh, well.
Well,
sorry, idiot.
This isn't going to be fun for you.
And yet it was still so fun the whole time. Anytime a video game, I'm like losing and dying, and I'm still having a good time, I'm happy. You know?
It's great, because like eventually you just get to the point where you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to hold down the fire button.
And just never stop.
And just like, well, maybe this is the way you have to do it. That boss fight is great, because like several times I would just throw myself off the edge to give myself a second to catch my breath.
Yeah, it's smart. I guess that's the thing about Dusk. I learned very quickly is it's like always be shooting and always be moving. Mm-hmm. If you like, don't stand still ever in Dusk.
No.
If you stop moving, you're gonna die. So just like always be moving. And I think that's part of like what made the Jacob fight like such like a. It's like a fever dream. It's like a nightmare you can have because you're just both like circling each other constantly.
Right? Like you get that. You like literally you are just like trying to run circles around each other, and it's like a figure skating like battle.
It's awesome.
You're just kiting around and like trying to shoot at each other,
hoping something will hit. It's so cool.
It's a really good game.
I'm really enthusiastic about it, obviously. Did I mention the level design? I feel like I should mention the level design one more time. Because I'm constantly thinking of new things in the level design that just makes me go like, ah!
It's a game that you're enthusiastic about, and also it feels very enthusiastic about itself.
Yeah! Yeah! That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think... So... Obviously, my least favorite enemy is the ladies. My favorite is the soldiers, though.
They're just chumps.
They're so easy. They die in like 3 pistol shots.
Yes.
But I love them because they're the only ones that are wearing tactical armor.
And they just die instantly.
You're fighting like a bunch of fat guys in burlap sacks with chainsaws. And a bunch of, like, weird wizards in robes and stuff.
Yes.
And the ones that go down the easiest are the ones wearing actual bulletproof armor.
I can't say what my favorite enemy is. I almost do kind of want to say the creepy deer things. I mean, they suck, but they're really cool looking too, and I love spooky shit.
You get that moment where like your flashlight flickers and you're like, oh shit, here we are.
Your flashlight flickers, you turn, you shoot them just in time to make them show up, and you're like, ha, got you, motherfucker. It's really good. It's really good. I like that a lot. It's that satisfying, like, you know, it's the reward for paying attention.
Yeah.
It is like, your light flickers, something's coming. I love it. So, yeah. It's good.
Boy, some of those are really creepy though, aren't they? The alien, like, things.
Which ones?
They're like in like the they're kind of dressed like the scarecrows, but like they're kind of little green men, alien-ish.
Yeah. I know what you mean now.
The orange guys with the mouths are...
Orange guys with the mouths.
Don't like those.
Don't like them. They really unnerve me.
Mm-hmm.
The skull beholders, but there's also the ones that are just like floating orbs that are like all mouth. You fight a boss version. You fight like a boss of them.
Yeah.
And there's a few little baby ones. I love those. The anime design is really good. It's super solid because it's just like everything is so distinct, and so you know what to do, like how to handle each different type of enemy. Just at a glance, you can kind of scan a room with different enemy types in it, and you know, like, well, I need to handle this first, I need to do that first. Yeah.
Also, they have such great sound cues too. Like every enemy like says or does something different that you're like, oh, I know what's behind this corner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know when a chainsaw guy is coming. You know when the wizard dudes are coming. The sound design is, I mean, yeah, it's. I cannot wait for the inevitable sequel because I would love to see this game after taking like people's critiques into account.
I'm looking forward, like, this is the kind of game where I'm going to be hearing these sound effects in my head for, like, years to come.
Yeah. Oh my god, I know.
Like, oh, it's so good.
The sound you make when you take fall damage is like that noise. Yeah.
So good.
Don't know why that one stuck with me so much, but it did.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what comes next from the studio, like, from this team. Like, yeah, like you said, like, after they see the feedback. That's one of the best, like, feelings you can have. Like, one of the best things I can say about a game is, like, or about a company is, I can't wait to see what you do next.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because the implication is, like, this game is really good already, but God, if you took some of, like, some people's, like, critiques into account, this game could be, like, a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I already think it's really, really good. Did I mention that level design?
The level design is so perfect.
I can't get over it. It's like, Sarah, stop talking about the levels. No, I will never, ever stop talking about the levels. I was like, awestruck by the Big John,
the dome opening up.
The dome, I was just like, oh my god. I had like a religious moment where I realized what kind of video game I was playing, because I was just so in love with God, and there's parts where you're like, it's when the game starts getting really surreal, so you're going through parts that at the very end that look like the houses from the beginning of the game, but they have all those, like, the weird shit going on inside of them too, and like the glowing areas, and when you fall down that tunnel, and it's before you break your flashlight, you fall down that tunnel, and then you fall past like these columns of light, like square, like lights shining through. So beautiful. The color usage in this game is incredible, because it starts out like very drab, but as the game goes on, more and more colors start getting added, and more like really bizarre things start happening, and you get this sense of going from like your standard Chainsaw Massacre to something really different and strange.
Yeah, the scope of going from killing a bunch of rednecks and like weird cultist guys to like facility to cathedral and like portals to hell and all that is
it's so good.
Really good.
So good. So strong. So strong. So yeah. Cannot recommend Dusk enough. $20 is an incredible bargain for how much video game you get.
Yeah, it's packed with video game.
So there's a lot of video game in this video game, as we say. Yeah, cannot recommend Dusk enough. So.
Whew. You got anything else with this?
But that level design,
That level design is real strong, though.
Yeah, it won a bunch of awards for it, so obviously other people are recognizing it too. So I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy. I guess too because I was talking with other people. You probably saw part of the conversation because I was talking about the new Colossus and how disappointed I was ultimately with the level design of the new Colossus. And to have like a little indie title do it better than some like major developers is just It's art. It's art, baby. It's beautiful. Video games are art because you shot a bunch of rednecks in burlap sacks with a super shotgun and they exploded into giblets. And it rules. Art is awesome.
Oh, you know what? You know what? That is one thing I wanna like mention before, like as a final thing, where it's like, I like how this game teaches you like what you need, like the recipe to kill every enemy. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I know 2 shotgun rounds will take care of the cultist guys. I know that this many super shotgun shells will take out this guy. So once you like figure that out, you know when to move on to the next guy trying to kill you.
Yeah, that's a really cool part, is that once you know the math, you don't have to check to make sure they're dead. It's just, they're dead, move on.
Yeah.
You know? I love that. It's really good.
So good.
So good.
This game is smart.
And the giblet effect I think is really funny.
Yeah.
Because they just bounce everywhere, and I just think it just looks awesome.
It's great when they just explode.
They explode and little chunks fly off, and it's not too realistic, so you're not too grossed out. And yeah, it's good. It's really, really good. I love Dusk a lot, so you should play it.
If you are a fan of first-person shooters, if you are clamoring for an old school feeling.
Did you like Doom 2016? You'll like Dusk.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yep. So.
Boy, video games are back.
Video games are real good, and I'm excited.
All right, do you got anything else?
No.
That's the thing about games like this, where it's just like there ain't a lot of like, I won't say there's not a lot of variety in the meat you're getting.
No,
there's
the meat
a lot of meat,
and it's very, very good. it's all cooked to perfection.
Yep.
And you just sit there and you eat it, and you just melt into your couch because you're so happy. Yeah, that's Dusk. Dusk is a really good steak.
Yeah, that's it.
Just a really good steak that you got for shockingly cheap somehow.
Yeah.
You didn't spend $40 on that steak. You spent $20, and you're like, this is a great $20 steak. What the hell? You know
how it's usually like pick 2. It's like cheap, really long, and really fun to play. Dusk manages to be all 3. So yeah, it's basically the perfect video game.
It's true, honestly. So you should play it.
You should
play it a lot. So we're good. We're good. I think that's all I have to say.
That's about it.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you to Vista for background music. You can follow me on Twitter at thegorgepodcast. You can follow Sara at radioinactivity. And if you're clamoring for some more action in some ways, not quite like if you want a bit more story after playing Dusk, you should listen to Sarah's other podcast.
Yeah, it was good. Hey, I'm in another podcast called Big Gay Nerds, where me and a bunch of cool queer friends get together and we play tabletop games. Right now we're playing Fate Core. We're playing Knights with a twist. You'll see. You should come listen and find out what that twist is. We're at Big Gay Nerds on SoundCloud, and you can find the links to the rest of our social media from there. Thanks.
All right, that'll do it for us. Man,
boy,
fuck those robot ladies though.
Fuck those robot ladies though. They are really scary, and they make weird noises, and they're just cheap.
Every time I heard I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Also, I don't like their weird sex noises. It makes me uncomfortable.
They're like really unsettling to hear that.
They have really unsettling design because they're like creepy robot ladies on stilts, and they have they make gross sex noises. And they're cheap. They can kill you easily. So
fuck them. When you make a sequel to Dusk, don't put those enemies back in.
Take those ladies out.
You can put in all the other enemies, but not that one.
Stop making me kill dogs too. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that when I killed that dog in the cage. The game was like, bad dog. I'm like, you're not funny. I don't like doing that. Video games that make me kill dogs aren't good games. I take it all back.
Let me pet the dog.
Let me pet that dog. Give me a dog. Okay.
All right.
All right, we're good.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.